Good morning. It's Thursday morning, my favorite day of the week because I get to spend it with you guys doing this fun playing practice. Today, and well, really all this week, my classes have been themed around taking steps, striding, and National or International Women's Day. Talking about the great strides women have made in the world. So someone's still unmuted. I'm going to just mute you up. I think it's you, Natalie. Yeah, there. Okay. And so I feel like compelled to continue on this journey, which is interesting. And I don't know what's going on with me, that maybe it's stepping into spring, or the idea that even though sometimes it doesn't feel like we're moving forward, we still are. Like there's just so many concepts that kind of are created, or that can come out of this idea of stepping and walking and propelling ourselves forward. One of my favorite teachers a long time ago, Francois Raoul, he said about yoga poses that we practice, he said, we do them big. We take wider steps than we would when we're in life, so that when we're in life, we can walk with ease. And I just love that. That's always stuck with me. And so we're gonna work with a little bit of that, and know that there are going to be some sticky bits and some challenges potentially. And what do you do with that? That is where you grow the most. And I think about today, they said it's the anniversary of being declared a global pandemic. So now, here we are a year later. We've been through so many emotions. We have moved forward. We have progressed, and things are changing. And not to say that we're going to go back to the way things were, but we're always moving forward. So, and there was a lot of sticky bits this year. So we use the sticky bits to propel us, to say, okay, this is the hard part, but when I get through this, something's going to bloom. So enough talking. I would like you to lay down and come into constructive rest pose. Have your blocks nearby. I'm going to put my blocks at the end here. So constructive rest pose is, you can have something under your head if you want. Have a block nearby, a blanket nearby, folded like that, and have your strap. That's a just in case. So one block. And then if you want a pillow under your head, by all means, put a pillow under your head. And then come here. Constructive rest pose, our feet aren't too close to the body. They're not too far away from the body. They're just right. So if you bring your hands to the front of your hip creases, be aware of if you lift one leg or try to lift one leg, feel the hip flexors engaging and popping up. We'd ideally in this pose like them to soften where the psoas crosses over the pelvis. It goes down and attaches to the inner upper thigh bone, which is valuable for us in our practice today to know that. So up here, the lesser trochanter right in here, way in. And then it comes through the pelvis, over the top, towards the back of the body, and up along the lumbar, the sides of the lumbar vertebra. So take a few breaths here. I bring my hands to my belly, but you don't have to. You also don't have to close your eyes unless it feels like you're being called to do that. Wherever you are able to lie and rest and center yourself. Bring yourself fully, all parts of you, to this moment. Stepping into the moment. We're often so busy stepping to get forward that we forget about each moment that exists. It's a series of steps. Step and pause, be there. Step and pause. This is a great place if you are willing and wanting to set an intention for how you're going to practice, how you're going to show up. What will be on your radar today? Is there a way of being that you know, something that you want to shift within yourself, in your life, not just how you practice a pose? I wish my hamstrings were longer. Not that. I want us to go a little bit deeper, unless that's where you want to be. What do you want to shift in your life? And how can you access that shift, or at least the steps towards that shift, through how you show up today? And follow your breathing, if that's available, if it's an option. It's always available, but is it an option? The wind is just howling here. I don't know if you can hear it at all. My wind chimes are dancing out there. Let your body respond to arriving. What does it feel like? And take your hands, if your hands are still on your belly, take them out to the sides. And you can decide where are you going to meet yourself. Try not to put yourself in a pose where it's too much too soon. And it sounds like this is really, no, I wouldn't be here. This is not too much too soon. But when you put your arms straight out to the sides, what effect does that have on your body, on your breath? Maybe, a little bit closer to your body might be more optimal for you. It's a subtle, small thing, but those are the things that really count. It's all the little steps that we take that I feel sometimes move us forward in a more aware way. Then slide your feet a little bit closer to you, not to engage the hip flexors tremendously. So that's why I like the sliding, but just so that you have a little bit more feeling of putting your feet below your knees. Gives us a little bit more leverage. And with the pattern of your breath, start to rock your pelvis. So a few weeks ago, some of you were here, some of you weren't. I asked you to think about having a metal ball, a heavy metal ball that sits in the center of your pelvis, sits right on your sacrum. And as you move your pelvis, the ball rolls to your lumbar spine, and then it moves back into the center of the pelvis, into your sacrum again. So just play with that image for a moment. I love it. So we can tune into how we're moving. And the sensations everywhere in the body. Last week, we worked on shoulder stand, and we didn't do a rolling like this. And I asked you to be aware of the relationship of your head and neck. So as you're doing this, rolling this metal ball, notice what's happening in your head. Just let it go. Let it go. You're not trying to hold it anywhere. What I'm feeling, I'll lead the witness a little bit, is I feel like my head's nodding. As I roll the ball back to my sacrum, my chin comes a little bit more level. And then as I roll the ball into my low back, my chin lifts up, open my throat a little bit, shorten the back of my neck. So I've got this feeling, I'm moving from my pelvis and feet, but there's movement happening. So there's movement happening through my whole spine all the way up to my head, which I kind of like. This is one of the things that you can do if you're finding you're in a state of sympathetic nervous system, or even the dorsal branch of this parasympathetic nervous system, just to bring a little bit of movement to your body. It's kind of soothing. So we're going to add on. We're not going to do the whole class like that. So then the ball rolls to your lumbar. And then slowly let it roll up to where your rib cage is. And then keep letting it roll. So now it's right behind my heart. And then keep letting it lift behind your lungs. And then it splits into 2 metal balls that roll into your shoulders. And now pay attention to the relationship between your head and your body. Did you collapse your chin into your body, or were you able to keep that space, that little bit of space in the front of the throat, and more of a neutral spine in the neck? And then let's roll back down. The 2 balls from your shoulder come back into 1, and it rolls down. So we want to roll down through the spine. Last week, we were simply lifting pelvis and lowering pelvis. So this is different. I'm going to have that imagery of the ball going back into the center of the pelvis, resting on your sacrum, and then let's do it again, because repetition is good. The more times we do something, the more practice. That's why we call this a practice. The more aware we become. Take your time. Do it at the pace that works for you. Keep that visualization. And I don't know about you, but I'm starting to notice that my hamstrings are active. So I'm actually using my feet as leverage and my hamstrings to slow down the movement. To control the movement. And that's kind of my point here. I want a little bit of movement through the spine. I want the fluid to be moving. I want the connection between the top of the spine and the base of the spine. But I also want to go more to the surface, because we're going to work with muscles. We always do, muscles and bones. So we'll do one more. And then rest back, let the ball come right back into the center of your pelvis. And just going to do a little bit of something before we go into the Supine Padanghustasanas. So feel where your feet are on the floor and use them as leverage. Just kind of try to push them away and see what your body does, and then try to pull them towards you. So push and pull, push and pull. And I get this kind of not rocking, but gliding back and forth. And if you didn't feel your hamstrings before, I'm hoping you get an awareness of them now, creating awareness, warming them up in a little bit more of a subtle way. And that's what you feel through your knees, your low back, and then the push and pull, and then stop in the center again. Now take your block. This is where you might need your strap, depending on your limb length and your arm length and your torso length. So I'm going to slide the block underneath the back of my pelvis. If you have a cork block like me and it's hard, you can always put a blanket on top. I don't want you to be too high, but I still want you to be able to keep that metal ball on top of your sacrum. So the sacrum is the bone in the center of the pelvis. It's wedged between the 2 pelvic bones, just in case you need a refresher. And when I do that, I end up arching my back a little bit more. So I want to balance that action. It could be the block is too high and you need to go down a little bit, depending on the shape of the length of your body. But if I want the ball to stay here on my sacrum and I arch my body, I want to then have a little bit of an effort to bring my back ribs towards the floor. So this is not a pull my ribs in. So we've talked about kidney loop before. And if I do this really hard action of drawing my rib cage in and down, then I don't actually allow my rib cage to move again with breath. So I want it to be more subtle. I want it to be a suggestion that my back ribs are floating downwards, if that's what you need. And in that case, then I feel a little bit more neutral in my spine again. That's why we do the elevation of the pelvis, so that we kind of make the lumbar have its curve, whether it has one or not for most people. Okay, so a suggestion of the back ribs moving towards the floor, still having the ability to breathe, and rib cage expands. We want to move away from gripping and bracing. At least I do. And then you can pick whichever leg you want. I don't care which one. You're going to lift one up and see, can you reach for the back of your leg? Are your arms that distance that you can reach for the back of your leg without changing what you created in the shape of your body? And if not, that's where you take your strap. You can double it over so it's not so long, a little bit more firmness to hold on to. And you bring it back here. And one of the advantages of having your using a strap is that you can anchor your arms. So either way, we're going to take the thigh to not vertical, but just a little bit in front of vertical. So just a little bit closer to your body. So that's going to really ask the hip flexors on that side, that leg, to soften. Then the strap and your arms are holding, sorry, your hands clasped or your strap are holding your thigh there. And you're slowly going to lift up, hinging at the knee. And the movement comes from your knee to your foot. So your thigh isn't moving. We are exploring range of motion while keeping your body stable where it was, ability to breathe still. And having a conversation with your hamstrings and your quadriceps, your adductors, everything that contributes to this action of lifting and lowering. Notice what's happening in your low back, because we can fall back into tendencies and grip. The goal here is not to get your legs straight. It's to find your range of motion. It's always going to be that. I've got my foot more in a neutral position, letting it kind of be somewhat relaxed as I'm going through this. So I'm not trying to keep it dorsiflexed and I'm not trying to point it, just kind of letting it flow. Yesterday I did a whole class on the feet, so we were using our feet like paintbrushes here to get some ankle mobility. Okay, let's do one more. And go to the end range of motion that's available to you, whatever that happens to be, where you're feeling a sense of resistance in the back of the leg. That's the hamstring stretch sensation. Your knee is facing directly behind you, as is the center of your ankle. So we're not shortening the left side of the body, which can happen, and the knee will face over your right shoulder, or if you've got your left leg. I've got my left leg in the air, the opposite shoulder, I should say. The other big thing here, and the reason why I have you holding on to the back of the leg or your strap, is to create this action of moving the thigh bone backwards. So moving the thigh bone towards your foot end of the mat. So away from your head. And where we want to move it, we want to get that movement to happen high up the top of the thigh. You can have a bent leg here, absolutely. I'm just reading your thoughts. And now, one more action. So we've got holding it steady. We've got pushing that way towards the foot. Now, allow gravity to sink your hip down. So we don't necessarily want to get an uneven pelvis. We still want to keep that metal ball in the center of the pelvis, but drop the pelvis down so you feel a heaviness through the back of the lifted leg. And now, at the same time, lengthen up. Think of it coming from your inner groin up through the inside line of the leg, your inseam, like right here. And press up towards the ceiling with the base of your big toe. So that's here, that's the ball of the foot. So that your foot, the sole of your foot is up, facing upward. If your leg is bent, then it's here. I'm going to assume that we're somewhere in this vicinity. It might not be the case. but look after yourself. And we've got the rooting down and the lifting up. One more breath. I know it's been here for a long time. If it feels too intense, you can come down at any time, change any time. You know, it's your practice. So, okay, and let go. Slowly keeping your leg or moving your leg towards straight. Start to lower it down. We're taking our time because we want to engage hip flexors here, particularly the psoas, but also the rectus femoris, lengthening them as they're weighted, and we're slowing it down, slowing the movement down. Watch what's happening in your body. Land your heel eventually. Keep the action of lengthening forward. Where is the floor? Still keep the action of moving the top of the thigh bone down. Not so that it affects your knee. Not that it, so that it feels like you're doing like a compression in your back, but just having an awareness. We want that part of the thigh to move down. 2 breaths. Then slowly let that leg, whatever leg you had, let it roll out to the side, releasing all the engagement, then sliding. So I'll show you on this side. So out, slide on your heel with your leg out to the side. So hip flexors that you just engaged. So slide heel towards you, and then up you go into the center. Let's take the block out because we've been up here a long time. You can lower your pelvis or you can roll. I will get us moving, I promise. Well, we are moving, but I will get us up and moving in a moment. And because you've been on your sacrum a lot, bring your legs towards you. So we release the hip flexors again. Maybe you like a little bit of a rock and roll here. Maybe you want to be steady, but get your sacrum off the floor. Let your sacrum to come off so you're not resting on it still. You can curl your head up if you like that exploration. Uh-oh. Someone is trying to call me. There we go. Okay, then bring your legs back down. Metal ball, roll it from the sacrum to the lumbar, lift up, roll it into your shoulders, pause here for a moment. Legs are parallel, and as they're parallel, get your block again, bring it underneath you. You found like, you know what, we're gonna have to do all that again. It's gonna really feel like a lot on my sacrum. Put something under here. Give yourself something to soften it. And then lower back down with an awareness of bringing the ball into the center of the pelvis, into resting on your sacrum. Suggestion, let your breath do it. Let your breath bring your back ribs towards the floor. So on an exhalation, if you're finding it's compression or your ribs are popping up forward, then go to your other leg. You can take your strap or see what happens. Maybe it's different on this side. So what I'm avoiding is this, having your shoulders come way off the floor. So if you can bring your shoulders down and be relatively long through the front of the body and open through the chest. No, it's not crazy, huge, important, but it's just an awareness. It's creating an awareness. Where do you want to be? And then slightly in front of vertical. Start to lift up, foot's relaxed, and lower down. I'm just going to come and peek at you. Yeah. So we're creating that wall of support with the hands of the strap so that your leg can lean into whatever's there. And as you're bending your knee, look to see, which direction is it pointing in when it moves more towards straight? Does it start to turn in from your thigh, from your hip joint, or turn out? You start to shorten that side of your body by lifting your outer hip up towards your armpit. Love seeing your exploration. Close us in. You've done more than I have. And then one more. Go to the up position. Keep that wall of your hands or your strap. Lean your leg into them. So that's the action of moving the top of the thigh bone back. If it feels beneficial, you can bring your hands a little bit lower or your strap a little bit lower, so closer to the top of the thigh bone, and try finding that sensation there. Because all too often when we come to stand, we push through the back of the knee. We want to move and create the space here at the top, because by bringing the leg in, we can create some congestion in the top of the hip. Then add the other action. Let your weight, the weight of your leg, be heavy. Let both sides of the pelvis become heavier on the block. You can even use your hands or your strap at the back to kind of guide that action downward. Again, not bracing or gripping though. And then along the inner line, and I say that because of the tendency to be longer through the outer line of the leg. We want to lengthen the inner line of the leg. Remember, that's where the hip flexors join. So we're going a little bit of a lengthening there too. And then base of the big toe, ball of the foot goes up. So we've got 4 directions that are acting on the leg. We've got a push back, we've got to pull forward, we've got to pull down, and we've got to push up. And we still want to breathe in all this. I'm not looking to go to the deepest place. I really want to just center my thigh bone. That's the point of this. Release my hamstrings enough so that I can start to get a sensation, a sense that I'm centering my thigh bone. Okay, let go. Move your leg towards straight and then slowly bring it down. Notice if you have any shaking that happens along the way, compensation somewhere, you start to arch your back. Can you stay neutral? Can you keep your breath steady and even? And then wherever you've experienced that shaking, just back a little bit from where you are, go backwards from where you came from, and then try to go through that spot again, because it's just a little bit of a rewiring, re-educating the muscles and the nervous system. And the floor seems a long, long way away. And notice when you do land your heel, are you landing centered, or are you landing on the outer edge of your heel or the inner edge of your heel? What's your go-to here? Knee is facing up, foot's facing away, thigh bone is centered, legs not rolling out or in, and the top of the thigh bone, you're still wanting it to move down. So we've got the ball, that heavy metal ball in the center of the pelvis. And we've also got some quiet calm. So the relationship between the rib cage and the pelvis is still one of love. They're not moving away from each other. They're respectfully staying connected. Okay, then let your leg roll out to the side. Slide on your heel back. Back into the center. Slide your block out. However you want to come down, whether it's a roll. No, that's a whole practice all on its own. Look how long that took us. And then once down, bring your legs back up again. Wrap around or underneath. Rock and roll. Just a couple more things here because I want to do a little bit more movement in a different direction. Bring your legs down wide on your mat, so as wide as your mat. Start to drop your legs over towards the left as if you're doing windshield wipers, but only let them go so far. You're not going to drop them. Well, that's the kind of the end range of motion without rotating the body too much. And then lift up your right leg, moving it towards the left, and then big circle back and land your foot towards the outside. So right where it started. And then legs go the other way. So we create these big circling steps. So we're moving thigh bones in the hip socket, but we're also allowing the pelvis to rock. See how the pelvis rocks and it brings the other leg with you? And then you're letting your spine rotate as well. Again, one of my favorite things to do in warm up. Creates awareness of how I'm moving. It's slow, but it's giving me a lot of information about how I'm able to move, my femurs in the sockets, my relationship again between my pelvis and my rib cage, and do I have the ability to rotate them away from each other? And speaking of rotating, we're going to do one more of these. And then bring your body back to the center. Lift your legs up in the air like you're sitting in a chair. Again, slightly in front of vertical. We'll soften your hip flexors, arms out to the sides. Start to bring your legs over to one side and then back to the other. So we're going to do this a little bit more loose to start. Notice as you take your legs from side to side, notice that your knees, if you're not doing anything, your knees don't stay together. One closest to the floor slides forward. And that's not because your knees are not moving, it's because your pelvis is not moving. So the one closest to the floor probably moves further ahead. You might have a different experience. I'm keeping my legs glued together, but they're doing this sliding thing, which is okay. As long as it feels okay around your SI joints, it's valuable. We want to have some movement, the ability for the pelvis to move like this. And so now, see if you can keep your knees together and allow the rotation to happen more in the rib cage. So the pelvis, your legs and pelvis are a unit. And I'm keeping my shoulders down as I rotate. Again, any suspicious feeling in your SI joints, something that doesn't feel great, then don't. Explore enough that you can find what does work. So I'm keeping my shoulder blades down. We're going to have one more step to do. As you take your legs to the side, pelvis rolls, you keep your knees together. Let your shoulder blade come off the floor. Maybe even let your legs come down towards the floor. Come back up. It's a little core engagement. Like, what does this have to do with anything? Well, I always want to try to work other poses in, so we're not always doing the same thing the whole class, even though there's a focus. I do want to try to move the body in all of its directions. Opposite shoulder blade, maybe a hint of a sensation of stretch through the top of the chest. And just for fun, kind of playing with your hamstrings again. As you start to come over to the side, play a little bit with moving your legs towards straight, keeping your feet together. So Jatara Paravatanasana. This is kind of why I was saying more than one mat might be helpful. I also, because I know rotations, I want to have a neutral spine. I want to make sure I'm not going into flexion. Have an awareness that you have that metal ball in your pelvis and it's just rolling from side to side. Ah, interesting. I'm stronger on one side than the other. Okay, last one, whichever side. And then you can bend your legs, come over to that side and make your way up. Finally, we're getting off our backs. Sawyer, come away from there. If he sees a cat, we're in trouble. A cat or a squirrel, we're in trouble. Yeah. Okay, so come into table pose, a little free movement. Been on your back a lot, which is really such a great place to explore. I love the serpentine movement. Imagine that you're a snake and you're gliding through the grass in the summer. Barrel rolls. You know, you were stuck here for a while on your back, so now you get a chance to move in a different way. Okay, then come back into the center. Let's do a downward dog. So place your hands on the floor where there's an evenness on both sides. Press into your fingerprints and the first set of knuckles, these ones. Tuck your toes under, take a breath here. Notice the moment just before you lift your knees off the floor and feel that sense of toning in your abdomen. That's the core that we want, that less gripping and bracing. And then keep that subtle toning, keep breathing, lift your knees away from the floor and shift into your downward dog. It's the transitions that are challenging. It's a transition time right now from winter to spring. We go from Vata to Kapha. But Vata, as you can feel it, maybe, or hear it, is what pulls everything to the next season. So there's some Vata energy happening as we transition to the earthy, heavy energy. Heavier, soaked, moist, muddy, mucky, yucky. Hey, however you would like to get your right foot forward, get your right foot forward. Back knee down, come up into a lunge, cushion your knee if you need to. Have your hand to the outside of your thigh. This is a favorite of mine as well, because now I want to teach my body to not bring my knee this way when I come forward, even in the symmetrical pose or the asymmetrical poses, that especially in the ones that are more challenging. So I'm going to keep my hand here so I wake up my gluteus medius and external rotators so that I am gliding and keeping my knee going forward. We're also doing an exploration of the relationship of the thigh to the pelvis, to the rib cage, finding that a rhythm that's smooth. 2 more times. With your free hand, how's everyone doing? Yeah? Okay, awesome. No one's unmuted, so I think we're okay for now. Okay, now pause in the middle. You can bring your hands down if it's easier to do this. Turn your back leg back. So it's the only way. Well, you could try to turn it out. It'd be weird. So you're turning it this way and then coming up, as if in coming to Padanghustasanas, which we will do in a moment. But I want to check in too. I don't have to be completely 90 degrees here. What I want is find where my leg can come out of my body this way, and I need to line up my foot with my knee. So even though I might want my knee to go that direction, I got to look and see which way do I actually have it without hiking up, without shortening the side of the body. So I'm adjusting my foot to be where my knee needs to be. And then I'm going to go forward. Same as what we just did. You can have your hand to the outside here, or if you don't need that. This is the action that I repeated often in my practice that helped to free up my hip that has been stuck for over a year. It's simple, but effective. And just explore that range of motion for you. Because we're doing this like opening here as we go this way. This is like an opening through both hips, really. This is like the building block for many of the standing poses. Okay, last time. And then I promised Padanghustasanas. So now lean, we're moving towards it. Lean down, bring your hand to the floor, and then turn and slide your leg out. So it's like a modified plank. Take your top arm up. If you're really feeling like you need to go to the most challenging place, you can come right into a plank. Really more just to open up to the side of the body. So I don't even suggest that you go overhead like this. So you create this beautiful arc, spinal flexion, but from the side. Okay, then we come back up. You can bend your knee, turn your leg again. Here we go. Here, knee and foot in line. Sweep and come back. Sweep forward. Things come in threes. So here, forward, and then lift up, and Padanghustasanas, here we go. So you can play with this. How much do you want to stay turned this way? How much do you want to turn this way? What do you need out of this pose today? We've got long through the front of the ankle. Does that feel okay for you today? It means shorten at the back of the ankle. This is plantar flexion. And then pause wherever you happen to be, exploring. Check out the relationship you have between your leg and your hip pelvis. Is your hip way out here? Can you bring your sit bone so that it's moving in the same line as your leg instead of leaning it back behind you? Slowly come back up. Turn on your back leg, back down into your lunge. Tuck your toes on the back foot, slide them forward, and then bring your heel to the floor. So my foot's pointed out to the side. Come up, bending your front knee. Let's find warrior one. Not a lot of instruction here. We've got the front knee moving forward. I want to stay connected to my back foot. This is a great place to work on this action of bringing the front of the thigh back. In particular, bring the inner thigh back. So it's like a rolling action. Remember where the psoas connects here. This is the psoas stretch. So inner thigh moves back, but then I start to lose my outer heel. So I want to bring my inner thigh in, and then I want to root into my outer heel without twisting my knee. So can I do both those things at the same time? Focus on that back leg just for another few moments, not putting pressure in the back of the knee, getting the movement to come up here. Remember when you were on the block, lifted. You'll be ready for splits by the end of the class. Maybe. Slowly come back down. Let's go back into downward dog. Notice, sense and notice, feel. What are you feeling here? This practice is asking us to step into the present moment, but also make steps going forward. It's so easy to walk too fast, take too big of steps, and miss out on a whole bunch of stuff, and maybe even get frustrated in the process. But step and notice, step and notice, step and notice. I found that to be such a valuable practice in my life, metaphorically and physically, literally. Okay, so other leg, however you want to get your other leg forward. That would be the left. And then we come down. Hand to the outside of your thigh. Forward and back we go. So it might be a tendency to do some of this, or I don't know what another, that would be more my tendency. So I want to find, how can I keep active in my gluteus muscles on my outer left hip? That's this action. Gliding forward. Similar, we're shortening hamstrings, lengthening hamstrings. We're doing something else on this side. We're preparing, again, shortening and lengthening. I love moving through an action that eventually we end up holding. Mimicking the movement or the pose that we want to move towards. You can bring to mind that metal ball and the relationship you had with it to your pelvis. We want it to stay glued there. So, if you arch your back, where is it going? Down to the pelvic floor. I'm not asking you to grip or brace, just explore, what's happening with your pelvis, where the little bit of the sticky bits might happen. I jam there. My hip flexors aren't opening there. Okay, and then come back into the middle. Let's turn the back leg. You can come down if that's easier to turn and come up. And similar practice, turn your knee or your foot. So we got this open. My pelvis is not, it's not forward and it's not sideways. I'm letting my pelvis be where it needs to be between the two legs, between what my legs need. I don't want to force. That's when we start to jar the SI joints. So same here. I've got my hand here. You don't have to, but I like that as a practice. So now adductors, talking to them. Also talking to abductors, abs and ads, like more of a stretch sensation here. Yeah. But more of an engagement back here. I know they're awake. Okay. Then we go into the plank, hand down, slide away so you have length. You can stay here, 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 or you can reach back. I just like to put my foot behind my other foot. Again, a modification. What is it you want out of this pose? I have ideas of what I'm giving it to you for, but you might need something different. So how do you want to do this pose right now? What's happening with your hand down here? Where do you feel the sensation? Beautiful, beautiful poses. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Come back up. So bend, push, come up, turn again, and sweep, reach back. This is that movement again that I like to throw in to connect points along fascial lines. Okay, here we go. Maybe we did one more. Up and over into Padanghustasanas. What do you need? Do you need your foot more turned? Do you need, what's happening with your body? Where is your hip going? I'll show you from the back. See my hip coming out? So can I bring it under, which, so sticking out here, I'm shortening the side of the body, but bringing this under, and then coming here, then rotating. Remember, rib cage rotates? Maybe here, maybe here. You can play with it. So I want you to have that connection of your leg into your body, because we're going to go to a pose next that similar, Uttita Hasta Padangustasana. And then slowly come back out, bring your hands down, downward dog. Do what you need to. Downward dog can be a very static and held pose where you're just allowing your breath to open you up, micro adjustments, or you might need a little more movement. Meet yourself where you're at. If you feel like moving, you move. And then say, is that what I really needed? Was that satisfying, or was I just, impatient or fidgety, or, what is that? How did you say you were going to show up today? How do you always label yourself? That's another one. Why do you label yourself? I'm a this kind of person. It's like, sounds a little bit like a full stop to me. Okay, let's walk forward. So now we go into symmetry. Blocks if you need them for your full forward bend for Uttanasana. Let's come into Ardha Uttanasana, lengthen the spine. In Ardha Uttanasana, whether your legs are straight, and if you can go higher on your blocks and get your legs straight, I'm going to say go there, because you'll get a little bit more out of this moving towards where we're moving towards if your legs are straight. So if your legs are straight, then I'm going to make an assumption. Get a sense that your sit bones are over your heels and not behind your heels like this. I'm forward and I'm long. And in this position, can you find that same action of moving the tops of the thigh bones back? I'm using my hands here to demonstrate, but that's the idea. So I'm not trying to get it from my knees. My knees, they're solid. The muscles around my knees are holding my knees in place, and I'm moving the tops of my thighs back. I'm rooting down, big toe base. I'm going to say outer heel as well. And then keep that and move into Uttanasana. Now, it might mean you don't move very far. Again, if you can manage straight legs, I'm going to suggest being where your legs are straight, just for today, for where we're going. And get a sense in your Uttanasana that you have not collapsed in your chest, that you are long from your pubic bone up to your sternum, top of the sternum, and you are wide across your collarbones. I'm on my fingertips here, but you could be fingertips on blocks. So now we're deeper into this in a symmetrical way. I want to still have that action of moving my thigh bones back because I want space here. Okay, inhale, come back to half. One more time. Actually, come all the way up. You can bend your knees and come up. So now we're going to go into it one more time. We're letting them release or settle for a moment. And then I'd like you to think of your pelvis rolling over the tops of your thigh bones here. So the legs are long. We're not going to let them move. but pelvis lifts up and rolls over the top of your thigh bones, and they stay vertical. So now, see, do you need your chair? The chair is not a prop that is for people who can't do things. It's to make the poses fit your body. And then we'll take 3 more breaths in Uttanasana. Tops of the thigh bones moving back. Breath still full, and you're able to move your rib cage with every breath. Yeah, nice. Okay, let's bend legs to come up. Bend your legs and long spine. Come up from Uttanasana. Yeah, Ardha Uttanasana. Okay, here's the fun. Get your chair. Get your strap. I'm going to because it's a hard chair, I'm going to put a blanket on it. And I want to test the waters a little bit here. Utthita Hasta Padanghustasanas. What time is it? 10:30. I need like 3 hours. I really do. And I realized my lights aren't on. Let's see if that makes a difference. If you can see me better. Can you see me all of a sudden? Okay, so I'm going to stand in front of the chair and I'm going to play a little bit with where's the chair need to be. Can I lift, extend, and land my heel on the chair? And have a straight leg and try both sides. And can I do it without, watch this. Because if I go here, I might not be able to go back here. The chair might be too high. We're just kind of exploring this range of motion. Hip flexors definitely engaging. And get a sense, the way we were lining up the pelvis with the head, lying down, you still want that alignment. Are you, when you lift up and reach forward, taking your pelvis forward like this? And see how my body compensates? My hips go forward, this goes in, and my shoulders round forward. And then I do something weird with my head. I'm exaggerating, but I want you to recognize that in yourself, if that's what's happening. Okay, let's come back. Come to the left leg. We'll start with the left. Take your strap, just for fun. Lasso it around all the mounds of the toes. So it's a diagonal line across the bottom of the foot so you don't crush your baby toe. Please be kind to your baby toe. I'm going to circle my hands, wrap my hands into the strap. This is the leg that was in the air in Supta Padanghustasanas. So this is the top of the thigh that's moving down. I'm going to go forward. Maybe I'll go sideways this way so you can see. So this often will happen here. This is pretty low, but I want you to tune in and see, is this happening? Is this shortening? And this is the thigh bone going down. So you can even take your hand and bring it right here. Okay, just figuring out where all the parts need to be. Have a peek down at your standing foot. Not a bad idea to have it turned out just ever so slightly, because that will help engage your piriformis, which is a stabilizing muscle when you're standing on one leg. So I'm not talking about turning your foot out this much. I'm talking about here's straight, just until you can feel that connection. Oh, yes, I can feel that in my hip, in my buttocks. Okay, one more breath. Easy peasy, we're going in steps. Okay, take the strap off. Step down. Notice. This is a progression you could do in class for sure with any level. And the thing is, beginner classes, we kind of think that beginner classes mean that people can't do things. It's just that they're beginner new to yoga. They might be very adept at movement and awareness. They just haven't tried yoga. Okay, lift your other leg. So stand on the leg that you want to. Lift the right leg. Bring in the strap. So just using the strap here just to get used to binding, making this connection. Can you use that to help lift up through the spine? Instead of dumping into outer left hip, I can use that to now lift. And instead of shortening through the inner left groin, I'm lengthening there. It's wonderful. Standing foot, big toe base, outer heel. I'm going to say for today, those are the points I'd like you to focus on, unless you find there's something else that you'd rather. It's just, they're always suggestions. That's all I'm ever giving you, suggestions. So where's your pelvis in space? Is your head right over your tailbone? Right over the center of your pelvis, let's say. A lot of work going on in this left leg. Okay, and we've got this support here. Okay, step down. Turn the chair around. If you struggle to get your foot to the seat of the chair, do the seat of the chair again. If you didn't, put your blanket up. I'm going to say blanket here because I want to soften my heel. And that's exactly what we're doing is heel. Okay, so then you got to figure out the length. How far away do you need to be? And where you're putting your foot is you're putting your heel, not your Achilles tendon. So the heel, the bone is there. So there's probably a good chance you can go this way and help it, but try not to come into it this way where you're cranking back through your back body. So help your leg. If it's too high, it's too high. You may go to a block on the seat of the chair. I want you to find what the next step is for you. I'm just jumping to this because it's an option. So left leg first. Do we do left leg? Try both sides. Great to have the camera different. And then let's go left. Let's go left leg up. Pay attention to your right foot, what it's doing. Outer hip down. Is pelvis forward? Can you bring the top of your right thigh back? Think of when you were lying on the floor. Top of the right femur back, this femur down. Reach out through the base of the big toe. Take your strap, loop it around. And use that as leverage to help drop this outer hip, create space in the inner groin, and lift up tall. We're not sinking into the inner right groin either. It's lifting. Beautiful. Okay, one more thing I'm going to point out. I'll show you on the second side. Okay, release the strap. Come out mindfully. I've shown it before. This right here is your, I was going to say your FAS. One of my friends calls it the FAS because it's your thigh-ass joint. She says the juncture of your thigh and your ass. But it's actually called the gluteal fold. And if you bring your hands here and like just fingers kind of along that crease, if you have a tendency to stand with your pelvis more forward, what you're going to feel here is a little bit of a gripping around your fingers. Where we want to be is we want to have that open. And if by moving it back and opening puts too much arch in your back, then you got to do the core thing. And the core thing is so many ways to say it. Tailbone straight down, pubic bone up. It's a pelvic loop. It's this inner, okay, if you want to think about it in terms of the metal ball, that metal ball is rolling backwards on the same spot. Does that help? That's a new one for me. So I've kept the FAS open or the gluteal fold open, and I'm doing this internal engagement that lengthens my low back. Okay, so now you have that, another piece of information. Let's now step on the left, lift the right, help it forward, and then wherever you happen to be, check out your left gluteal fold. Is it gripping your finger? Because guess what? Your thigh bone is moving forward. So now take this thigh bone and move it back. Open up the gluteal fold. Then do that metal ball rolling backwards. This thigh, the top of the right thigh, down, like here. This is the strap. Could be a benefit of here. Then we loop it around the foot. We're going to take the chair away, you know. Oh. Yeah. Are you the same length through both sides of the body? Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, let's step down. A lot of stuff happening. Looks like it's such a simple pose. It's simple to do something like the pose, but maybe not necessarily a functional or one that actually helps you to grow pose. Okay, back to the first side. I'm going to move it over here just so I'm on the camera side. Back to the first side, wherever you happen to be. Stand. Right foot can turn slightly out. Let me think, do I want to do this way? No, I'm going to have you turn sideways to the chair. Turn sideways to the chair. So now lift your left leg up, take it out to the side, and guess where we're reaching? Move my chair slightly forward. Because I can't do the 90 degrees. I already saw that when we were on the floor. So I'm going to go here and here. If it's too high for this pose, put the blocks on the chair. Do something different. What does this feel a little bit like? Triangle. Maybe a little bit like half moon. And you can see my pelvis is going to be where my pelvis is. It's kind of not facing completely forward. It's a little bit more like this. I'm facing like this on a bit of an angle. So wherever it happens to be, same rules apply. What's your gluteal fold doing? What's this leg doing? Is it rolling in and your bum sticking out? Can you bring your hand along your thigh and roll your outer hip down, dropping your sit bone down? Okay, time to lasso the foot again. Like you're toweling off the bottom of your foot.
So then should fast feet. Are you going to still get fast grip on the standing leg?
You might, if you're pushing your pelvis forward. So we want this to.
Then this tips forward,
Yeah.
and then I need to hold
Yeah.
it back.
Yeah. So Anne's asking, will you still get, she called it fast grip. I like it. So yes. So if you push this hip back, whoa, did that have to happen? Can you keep it where it is and move it back? Does it have to move? But if it does move, can you then bring it under, sit bone under? It's a little bit of a play. Play is the thing. Okay, tall. My pelvis is facing this way, but I want to rotate my ribs this way. I want to rotate away from my standing leg or from my lifted leg. And I can use my strap to help me. Rotate away, and then even turn your head over your right shoulder. Now, are you gripping or pushing into your knees or doing anything that makes your nervous system go, don't hold this for very long, you're in trouble. You can't do this, you can't sustain this. We want to be where there's some ease. It's the sticky bits. It's figuring out how to find ease in the midst of challenge. And we've all learned in our own ways how to do that this past year. Okay, come back with grace. and style. Yeah, walk around a little bit, loosen things up. If you really feel like, oh, that's a lot of compression, I got to release it, it probably was a lot of compression. So that's, put that on your radar. Like, how come there was so much compression there? Any questions? Everybody's good? Okay, we have a second side. Turn sideways. I hope I have time. I don't know if I will for the fun stuff. Maybe I'll save the fun stuff. That kind of combines a lot of this. Okay, lift up, check your gluteal fold, adjust. That metal ball rolls backwards. Let's just think of it as a spinning ball rolling backwards in the same spot. Out to the side. Might be a totally different experience on this side. Maybe the setup needs to be different. I know, because of having an injury in my hip, how much I have to treat my two sides differently. Now, when you got here, did this distort your spine? Like, I'd love for you to get to the place where you're going to be without having to move back into, like, so less distortion going in, so that when you're there, and now we're just being here, just allowing the body to get used to this shape. Check your gluteal fold on your left leg. All too easy to lean out. That shortens this inner groin. This inner groin lifts up. What's happening? Do you have a sensation in the back of your pelvis? It's like, I am feeling a little bit in my SI joint. So I'm going to change this. For this side, I'm not going to go quite so high. Much better. Okay, add in the strap. Pelvis is turned this way, or whichever way it needs to be. Now rotate your rib cage away from your lifted leg and look over your left shoulder. Notice what's happening on this leg. Does it want to lean out? Does it want to roll out? So we may or may not take the chair away. Depends on what's going on in your body. Supta Padanghustasanas, or Utthita Hasta Padanghustasanas. I'm going to take you through the Ashtanga sequence. That might mean more of a bent leg, but at least you're getting the benefits of where you need to be here with a straight leg, because it is valuable to have a straight leg. If we always only do this pose where we only bend the leg, we never get this, what you're getting right now. Why the chair is valuable and not just for beginners. I'll get off that soapbox. Okay, let's come out with grace. Smooth, even fluid movement on the way out. Okay, we can move the chair. I might do a little tutorial. I don't know if I have time in class today, but I might do a little Instagram tutorial on how to do this pose, variations of this pose for people who even in lying on the ground, the Supta Padanghustasanas, it's too much, like their leg is too far away from them, because I know lots of people that way. And we use the chair, and it's so neat. It's such a neat one. So if I don't have time, remind me and I will do that and make it available to you. Okay, strap, have it nearby just in case. Actually, let's go into standing forward bend. Blocks if you need them. Come into your standing forward bend, so we're symmetrical. And actually, I'm going to say, let's do a vinyasa. Do your own vinyasa, whatever that is that you need to get away from. I shouldn't say get away from to clear your head. Remember a couple weeks ago, come forward before you come down. Push back, up you go. Child's pose might be an option. Just take you out of the fire a little bit. Move away from hamstrings. Child's pose might be a great option. Laying on your belly might be a great option. Just take a few moments. Yeah, you know that class plan that I made up that I deleted. I'm not doing anything. I shouldn't say. I'm doing some of the things. I'm letting it be its own thing today. Okay, make your way up again to stand when you are ready. Maybe a little sip of water. And if your body is saying, you know what, we've done so much of this, I don't think I can handle anymore. It's okay, just watch or do something else. There's no point in pushing past where your nervous system is giving you the warnings. You know, you'll still learn, you'll still gain something from watching. So you can have your strap around your shoulders ready to go. I haven't talked a lot about the standing foot, but it really matters. You know, I like the turning out slightly because it does engage piriformis, which helps you to support, be stable when only one leg. That's what holds you if you let it in walking. So big toe base and outer heel. And I want to focus on those 2 points of contact, hands to the top rim of the pelvis. Lift your, what leg is up for you guys? Left is up. Does everyone have their left leg up? Yeah, okay, so I'll do backwards to you. Your left leg up, I have to remember that, left leg up. Hold on to your knee. See what that feels like. Level out your pelvis. This is where you can play a little bit with coming into the inside and finding your big toe, your outer foot, or if you know, you know what, that was a bit of a struggle, I'm going to use my strap here. So big toe, that's where I'm going today. And then I want to check out my relationship with my pelvis again. Can I stand here? Like we're always in a hurry to get to the next thing. Can I be here in this step, in this moment? And then move towards where we were. Instead of the strap around my foot, I've got my hand around my big toe. We want to pay attention to the fasce or the gluteal fold. You know, and if try to see, am I going into my default because I want to do this pose the way I always do it? Go into it if you can with this new perspective. Of how to hold the pose, how to hold yourself. So I want to, if I'm using my arm, I don't want to be reaching forward. I want to have an energy that draws back. Let's just take another couple of moments exploring. Maybe you're using the chair or a wall to help hold you here. This goes back. And then come down. Questions, comments, we're okay? Supta is what we did on the ground, that's supine. This is standing, Utthita Hasta. Extended hand to foot, Padanghustasanas. Hasta is a hand, and Pada is a part, mostly referring to feet. It could be another part of the body. Okay, so set up your right foot. As you lift your leg up, pay attention to if you're distorting, if you're moving your thigh bones forward. Find that gluteal fold. You may get this really huge epiphany that I've been practicing so far out of my body's range of motion. No wonder I haven't been progressing on this. That would be a great epiphany to have. Stay here for a little while. Now, what's happening back here in the gluteal fold? And in your own time, start moving. Maybe it's here. Stay within your range where you're not getting lost in the chaos of the pose. That, if you understand what I mean by that, there's a lot going on. And sometimes we slip back into survival mode because that's all we can do. So a lot of people have done this past year. But this is why we practice yoga. In my opinion, this is why we practice yoga, to learn how to show up in the world when things are chaotic and challenging. To have a regulated nervous system. Stay for as long as it's serving you to explore. Come out when you're ready. Vinyasa, if you like, child's pose, forward bend, downward dog, do something. Maybe it's standing in Tadasana. You get to choose, it's your practice. Who says I don't teach vinyasa? I don't. Notice I didn't really teach that. Okay, are you ready for number 2? Oh my goodness, this is a harder one. For me, it's a harder one. So stand on your feet. Set up your standing leg so it's your right foot standing this time, or left. What are we lifting up?
We did lift up our left last time.
Okay, so
Started with that.
yeah, okay, so stand on your right. Stand on your right. I'm going to stand on my left. Lift up. Check out the gluteal fold. Reach down. This is where you can take your big toe, the outside of the foot. You can also hold on to your knee. And you can go to this step. I would not suggest using the strap here because it ends up being something like this. So I would say, go here if your knee needs to be bent. If you can do your big toe, you're here. Now, similar to what we did on the chair, I want to keep this going back, and I don't want this to stick out. I want my sit bone on this side to drop down. So I need to keep it down as I start to extend it through my knee. And this is going to happen. This is going to go up like this. Lift to the inner groin of your right leg. Yeah, awesome. Stay as long as it's serving you, and serving you might mean falling out because you're exploring. It doesn't have to be a perfectly balanced pose. Why do we think that? Falling out of something teaches you where you were might not be where it was serving you. Or falling out meant, oh, that's because of this. I understand why I lost my balance there. Something we didn't do on the first side, we can do on the second side. I'll show you. So stand on your left foot. Lift up your right. Here and here, maybe. There's so much value in this. If this is not an option yet, there's value in this. I want the top of my thigh moving back. I want that tone and lift in my low belly, the ball spinning backwards. And out my leg goes to the side. My pelvis is being where it needs to be between the two legs, and I'm rotating my rib cage. What we didn't do on the first side is turn the head. Go really slowly and make eye contact with whatever is in front of you that you're seeing. Explore, and when you're ready, make your way back. I'm amazed. It's such a windy day out there, and I am so grounded today. Like, it's amazing. For me, it's amazing when I put my energy in that place of I'm going to stay in the place of stillness within when there's all this stuff going on around me. And that's hard to do because I have a lot of vata in me. And I can feel, I love the wind. Okay. So I was going to combine them. Do you want to try it? Like, when do you get to do this? This is part of the Ashtanga practice. Have your strap if you need it. If you need to walk around or do something before we go into it, do that. Remember, you don't want to be in a place with your nervous system where you're going to feel like, oh, I can't walk tomorrow. You know, that's not the rewiring that's valuable. That's the case, you know, do some rolling on your, get a foam roller and roll your hamstrings, because there's been some evidence that suggests that rolling your muscles after you use them will help with that delayed onset muscle soreness. So stand on your left foot, big toe, base, outer heel, top rim of the pelvis. In fact, when I first was doing Ashtanga, we had to lift and grab the toe. I'm not taking it that way. So slowly come up. A lot of swinging and momentum. We go forward first. I'm going to add in something as a just in case you want to play with it. Depends on where you are in the body or in the pose. Elbow can go out to the side and you can bow to your leg. You come back up. You take your leg out to the side and you turn your head over your left shoulder. You come back into the center. If you've fallen, that's okay. Whatever your version of this is, bow again. Release. Let go of your strap or your toe and hold your leg wherever you can hold it without doing this. That might mean being lower. So we lengthen out through the knee, hip flexors engage, and then when you come down, we'll step back and we'll release the hip flexors on that side. Take a big enough stance that you definitely have hip extension in your back leg. So your leg's going behind your body. Keep your back leg solid, but bend your front knee. So what that means is as we bend the front knee, we're not leaning forward. We're allowing the body to stay in the middle between the two legs. You're keeping your back leg firm. Think of taking a step. I often think of when I'm doing a pose like this, I think of like Abbey Road, the cover of Abbey Road, when they're taking these, they look like they're taking these big strides across the road. Beatles' last album. Some would say it the best. Maybe arms up, not spiraling, releasing, just on the body, then all this hamstring. So the hamstrings are shortening on the back of the left leg, gluteus muscles. Remember a few weeks ago, if you were here, I said we had the wall there. Slide your back heel as if you're pushing it into a wall behind you and get your gluteus maximus to engage. Watch the rhythm, the relationship between the pelvis, your pelvis and your rib cage. And then release. Step forward. Now we're ready. Ready for the second side. Okay, now you know. Are you ready? Stand on your right foot. Lift up your left. I'm not going to watch so much because I might come peek. Gluteal fold. Where do you need to be? Maybe it's here. Maybe it's the balance that's the challenging part today. Be wherever you need to be. We do number one. A bow if it's an option. But notice what happens when you're bowing. Where do you feel it? Why would you do this pose? Then into number 2, right hand on your waist, turn over and look over your right shoulder. Come back into the center. Yeah, it's really hard, Victoria, with the strap. I'm not so sure I would use the strap going to the side. I would rather, because it just ends up distorting. I've never used it and I found it helpful. Yeah, back to the center. Bow if you're bowing. Then hold your leg out. Hands to your waist. Check your gluteal folds, because this is often where we shift the pelvis forward in order to hold the leg here. And then one forgotten piece. Lift your leg just an inch higher and then lower it. And then let's step back into warrior 1. So we don't need the double mats after all. So big toe base, outer heel. I'm neutral with my pelvis. I'm turned sideways this way. You know, that's a whole other day's work. I'm not going to worry so much about my pelvis. I can probably get it to move a little bit more. What I don't want is a twisting of my back knee. And I want to move forward, bending my front knee, but I want my sit bones to go down rather than slide forward. They will a little bit, but I want to feel like I'm taking them down, and then arms up. This way we get the releasing of the fibers, not just lengthwise of the hip flexors, the ones that the iliacus and the psoas major and inside the pelvis, but we also get a broadening. We get them sliding this way, the fascia across each other. So we're trying to achieve the same thing, top of the thigh moving back, but not from the knee joint. I can get my inner thigh to rotate backwards and out into my outer heel at the same time to find that balance. And then I can take my pelvis and I can roll it or turn it over the top of my left. Yeah, it would be your left femur to face more front. And my rib cage to face more front. Now this is all play, of course. Did I say some things fast? If you need clarification, we can chat afterwards too. And stay for as long as it serves you, and when you're ready. Stand in Tadasana for a moment, lining your head over your pelvis. Remember, we want the pelvis to be in a balanced place because weight bears everything above it. It bears the weight of everything above it. And if it's forward or back, it's going to be something's going on. It's a compensation. So find where your head comes right over that ball, that heavy metal ball that's in your pelvis. And it's just swirling in all directions now. Some might say it's the second chakra. And what does that mean to you? What a great pose to explore. We're in a state of boredom, if that even exists. Just notice. Check in with your breathing, your state of mind, your emotions. Is there anything that your body is asking for before Shavasana? Maybe Shavasana is it. Maybe you're ready. So proceed how you need to, knowing that we're headed towards Shavasana. Support yourself however you need to. Maybe it's a downward dog. Maybe you want to do a child's pose or Apanasana, laying on your back, hugging your legs in. Bring in a bolster, put it under your knees. someplace where your nervous system is going to know that it can let go of the gripping, anything that was gripping that you thought was serving you in the practice. I'm going to say, I don't think, unless you're hanging off a cliff, I don't think you need to grip. And even then, you're going to use a lot of energy with gripping rather than focusing on how you can use your whole body to hold yourself there. Let's hope no one is in that situation. It happens in movies all the time. And come back and find some rest, some support. And maybe even contemplate for, I'm going to say no more than a minute, how you have adjusted, how you have grown through the pandemic. What steps did you consciously take to get you where you are? What steps did you take really in the dark? How do you feel now, a year later? Is there confidence in some part of you or all of you in your ability to be in the future or be in the present and move forward? That's it. That's all I'm going to say. Except rest deeply. Hear the sound of my voice. And notice where you are, not just physically, but where you are in your life. And all the steps you've taken to get there, to get here. And how much you've learned. That's it. I think when we can understand that all of life's experiences are giving us something, even the yucky ones, even the sticky bits, it can change your whole way of dealing with things. So if your body feels like moving, let it move, let it wiggle, let it stretch, do what it needs to, change your breath. If you would like to stay where you are longer, I will just close the meeting around you. It's one of the luxuries of practicing at home is that we can do that. If you're ready to move and come to sit, find your support, your blankets or your chair, something to sit on that gives you a little lift. Knees go lower than your hips. And you're honoring all the incredible work that you did today. Incredible work that is honoring alignment and your range of motion. Thank you. I don't know about you, but I think I want to go for a walk today. See what my gait feels like. On more levels than one. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.